views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Good evening. You are tuned in to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind these enemy lines that I call USA Inc. It is a Tuesday night, just a minute after 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It's good to be back on these airways since last week. I have been putting out some podcasts, so I do want to be proud of myself for that. Well, not really podcasts, but I've been putting out some videos. I try to get out some podcasts as much as I can, but it's kind of hard though when you don't really have a staff to help you with many things, and that's why I'm so appreciative of our volunteer who lives in the UK. Shout out to Melissa, who compiles all of our stats for the podcast downloads on the network. We're about to switch over to a new system of recording these podcasts, or not actually recording the podcast. What am I talking about? Compiling the reports, because we've been having some issues and we hope to get those straightened out with this new system that we are going to use. We also use a third-party system so that, we have third-party verification that the downloads are what the downloads are. So welcome to Black Talk Radio News. This is a weekly program. I focus on social and political issues. I'm usually on for about 2 hours. Sometimes I go a little bit over. I don't know. It just depends on audience participation. If we need to go over the 2 hours, then I'll go over the 2 hours. But of course, I also like to share my R&B and hip hop. And I had some new music sent to me, but it was just a rough draft. I was ready to throw it up on the station, on our message music station that you can find on blacktalkradionetwork.com. But they told me that they were just trying to get some feedback, and I was liking what I was hearing. We hear a lot of garbage on terrestrial radio, and it's more than just garbage. It's programming. It's the type of programming when you want people to have thoughts, speech, and action, to borrow a phrase from Mr. Neely Fuller. When you want people to have thought, speech, and action that do not produce justice, then you program those people with a certain type of music. Just take a listen to the radio stations in Chicago. Although I'm not putting all that violence in Chicago on black people, I think a lot of Mexican cartels got something to do with that. And y'all could ask the DEA about that, since they the ones that had to deal with the Sinaloa cartel. So, yeah, we do share music on this program. If you're an independent artist out there and you're making revolutionary music, doesn't always have to be like, positive, where, we're singing the praises or anything like that. If it's speaking truth, if it's talking about negativity, if it's got a whole bunch of M-bombs in it, I could stand a couple of them. But if it's just M-bomb, 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 I'm not playing that on the station. I had this lady sent me a track to review. I had to send it to my brother up there in Chicago with Clear the Airways Project, brother Kwabena Rasuli, and I was like, man, they must not listen to the station. Listen to this garbage that they send to me, and how they talking about what they gonna do to a black woman and all of this and that. Just graphic, it's just disgusting, some of the stuff. But hey, when our people believe that that's what they got to put out in order to get put on, then unfortunately, that's what they're going to put out, because everybody trying to get put on. So I definitely appreciate you underground artists out there who put out revolutionary music that has a message. That's why we call our music station the Message Music Station. So shout out to all you artists out there putting it down. All right, tonight, I'm just going to keep it real with you. I'm not on here to baby people. I'm not on here to make friends. I'm on here to speak my truth as I see it, as I understand it to be. And I do consider a whole lot of different sources, different perspectives and angles. But I'm not on here to make friends. I'm not on here to bring listeners into this station by being a shock jock or something like that, you know, bringing on a whole bunch of controversial stuff. No, that's not what I'm on here to do. But I'm telling you, as I was reading this article that someone shared in btrcommunity.com today, and as was mentioned, the work of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who we lost recently in 2016, is when she passed away in December of 2016. Mental illness is rampant in our community, and I suffer from it too. I have post-traumatic stress disorder from living behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Now, where I live physically, I don't go through the stuff that I read about in you know, on social media or in these newspapers, or I see on YouTube. For example, you know, you got this cop in Kentucky, Prospect, Kentucky. I put out a video on that where he was telling a recruit to kill black people. Hey, when the recruit asked him about, what if I come across some juveniles smoking weed? And he said, well, if they're black, shoot them. See, I don't live in an area like that. I'm not being targeted like that. I'm not going through roadblocks and checkpoints and stuff like that. It might be a month sometimes, or a couple of months sometimes, before I see a cop car, because I live in a rural area. Okay, so I don't go through that, all right? But when I read about it and I report on it, I feel it. I feel for the people that's going through it. It's like it's happening to a family member. It is happening to a family member. And then when over the years how I have spoke and interviewed individual families and behind the scenes trying to point them towards some resources and what have you, that's stressful. It's very, very stressful. So I think we're all suffering from some form of mental illness, and we need mental health treatment. And some of us are suffering more than others. And so I just want to acknowledge that. I'm not, if I don't agree with someone's point of view, or I think that what they're doing is not healthy and it's not helping and it's not constructive, it's not that I'm criticizing them per se, because I recognize that we're all under a lot of pressure when you got a system that's not only practicing racism, but it's still practicing slavery, legalized slavery. We ain't talking about all the people that go missing, although that's very important. Shout out to those who try to help our missing, like Black and Missing and what have you. And so, but I'm not talking about that kind of slavery. I'm not talking about the underground type of slavery. I'm talking about the slavery that's right in front of your face. And as I said earlier this week on social media, it's a shame that more people are not involved in the new abolitionist movement to abolish 21st century slavery and human trafficking. But again, I understand the programming. A lot of them are not exposed to the fact that slavery was never abolished. They ain't never read the 13th Amendment. They ain't reading the 13th Amendment to children in school. They never showed it to me in school. They're not even, when they write about it in articles, when we had that recent 150th year anniversary of the passage of the 13th Amendment, all these mainstream articles come out. They didn't even put the whole 47 words of the first section of the 13th Amendment that says slavery and involuntary servitude shall be abolished except for punishment for crime, where a person has been duly convicted, not rightfully convicted, but duly convicted, meaning they put you through a little show trial and all this and that. And then when we consider the fact that I don't know the exact figure, but upwards of 90% of the cases never even go to court because they coerce you into a plea agreement. It's we're under a lot of stress, and I understand that, but we need people to be focusing on what's really important, and we need to be leveraging our dollars in a way that's going to benefit us the most, and we need to be leveraging our social capital. What is social capital? Social capital can take the form of a boycott. When we call for boycotts, like Dr. King was telling people back then to boycott the bus system, boycott this corporation or that corporation, you're spending social capital when you call for boycotts. When we call for divestments, as I put out a call for divesting from the 6 major banks that are underwriting private prisons, who are behind the legislation that led to mass incarceration, that is really slavery, okay, that we need to be pulling our money out of those banks. And we're not doing it. But let a celebrity tell us to boycott this company because they not getting paid as much as they think they should be getting paid. That gets a lot of play on social media. It's being retweeted and retweeted and retweeted and retweeted. And it's getting a whole lot of press. And I'm adding to it because I'm going to talk about it tonight. But hopefully I'm going to talk about it in a constructive manner to make us think. And I'm not going to say this is not going to be the last time I talk about it, because I'm sure the problem is going to continue to repeat itself. Okay? But then when we call for boycotts of these banks, that's part of our oppression. The very banks that Obama bailed out but didn't do anything of substance to address modern slavery and human trafficking, and we won't do it. We won't do it unless a celebrity figurehead, as Dave Attendo radio show called. If a figurehead tells us to do it, the people fall in line and they'll do it. They'll be ready to do it. Okay? And that's just the reality of the situation. And that is why independent media is very important, because Malcolm X said that media controls the minds of the masses. Why do these celebrities have so much power over our lives? Because they're featured in media. We're mesmerized by these media personalities. And we think that they're just like us, or that they really care about us, when they're actors and actresses and what have you. So we're supposed to have a guest on tonight. I spoke with her yesterday. Let me check the board. I don't see her on because I was not able to get back in contact with her today. I don't know what's going on. She's involved in very important work. We're supposed to be speaking to Christina Flowers, who is a homeless advocate running a nonprofit in Baltimore, and also a black terrestrial radio host on a local Baltimore terrestrial radio station. And she has a co-host, and on that radio program, they address homelessness in the black community. Now, she contacted me because she saw what my thoughts were on this whole situation with Monique, and we might as well throw in, what's the other lady named, the comedian Wanda Sykes, because Wanda Sykes tweeted out something in support of Monique saying, hey, Netflix didn't offer me that much money either, so I went over to this other white-owned company. You know what I'm saying? I'll talk about that a little later. That's just ridiculous. You saying that one white company's practicing racism, and you're going to tell black people or suggest to black people that they go to another company that's practicing racism, and then has a track record of putting out racist films going all the way back to the 1920s. That's not true empowerment. And so if we're going to spend social capital, we have to make sure we're spending it on the right things. Just like we had to be wise with how we spend the little bit of coins that we do have. You know, when we talk about the black community being so economically deprived and living off of poverty wages and what have you. Yeah, we got a few people that's doing well for themselves, but that ain't the reality for most people. So she contacted me because she had personal dealings with Monique, because Monique's elderly aunt was living in a car behind a foreclosed home. Remember all them black people got hit by foreclosure? You know, Barack Obama bailed out the banks, but he didn't bail out homeowners and what have you. So Monique's elderly aunt by the name of Tina was sleeping in the car. And Miss Christina Flowers said that she contacted Monique to help her aunt, and Monique said don't help her because of her lifestyle. Don't help her. I don't know if the woman had a drug problem. I didn't get into all of that. I didn't ask her that, but she said she just lost respect for Monique, who is from Baltimore. That's her hometown. Said she lost respect for Monique when Monique told her not to help her aunt. And she was supposed to come on tonight and just talk about this. This is why she contacted me. But I also wanted to focus on her work, because homelessness is real in our communities. There's a lot of homeless families out there in general. But who do you think got hit the hardest by that so-called recessions that were brought on by the banks and their toxic mortgage bundles that they put together and then, you know, falsified and sold out on the market, nearly brought down the entire global economy. Black folks got hit the hardest. Okay, so there's a lot of homelessness in the black community. So I did want to talk to her about that. She asked me if I wanted to bring on Aunt Tina. I said no. I don't want to bring on Aunt Tina because Aunt Tina's an elderly woman and she don't need this stress in her life. And I don't want to be having a family member coming on speaking ill of another family member. Hopefully that situation can get resolved and they can have reconciliation. But at the same time, though, I cannot be quiet and allow a person who has not done anything for the black community that I can find. Now, if you know of some charity that Monique is supporting, if you know of some benefit concert she had to help poor children in Baltimore, then tell me about it. Post it in our chat room at uberconference.com/Black Talk Radio. I'm going to tell you, I did some research. I could have missed some things, but I did some hours worth of research. I used a real name. I used her stage name, and I could find nothing. But I did find some interesting sound bites that tell me Monique know about the problems in the black community. She knows it's not a matter of she's ignorant about what's going on because she's spoken on it in the media. But like Dr. What's his name? And I want to turn y'all on to this guy. I found him on YouTube. His name is Dr. Rick Wallace. He is a PhD in psychology, and he's a black business owner. He has a YouTube channel. Just Google or go to YouTube and put in Rick Wallace, PhD. And I've been sharing his stuff in the BTR community. And you know, he talks about it. He talks about the same thing, you know, and mental illness. See, I'm tying all of this also to mental illness. I'm not calling people fools out there for wanting to support somebody simply because they share your skin color and this person ain't done nothing for you or done anything for your community but give you lip service like Dr. Rick said. You know, darn some sound bites, darn some I'm talking on the radio about the problem, but I'm not using my resources to do anything about the problem. So, you know, that's what I want to talk about tonight. Are we leveraging our black dollars correctly? Are we spending our social capital correctly? Not to pick on Monique, but I'll also bring up another story that is related, connected to the black woman who was showcased on all of the national white corporate media during the Baltimore uprising for buck breaking her son. What is buck breaking? Buck breaking is a term that comes from pre-1865 slavery. You know, during that time, if you had a rebellious African male, they would break him. And they used different methods to break this buck. And usually those methods involve violence, in beating him, in raping him, in emotionally and psychologically abusing him, and making all the other victims of slavery watch. And when that black woman was out there buck breaking her own son, now her motives might have been true. Her motives might have been for the best interest of her son, but it's still buck breaking. It's still buck breaking and breaking this young black warrior spirit. And so back then, the mothers would see how they would break those bucks, those rebellious Africans who might one day lead a rebellion, who might grow up to be a Nat Turner or a Denmark Vesey or Frederick Douglass. So what those mothers would do to protect their children is to beat their children so massa don't beat them. And that's the reason that black woman broke her son in the streets like that. And Monique supported that. She supported that. But all kind of promises was made to this black woman. Everybody was praising her, saying she did the right thing for buck breaking her son in the streets, for all these white people to give her a pat on the back, and black celebrities coming out saying she did the right thing, that we don't want to engage in violence, we want to be nonviolent and only march. And I ain't got nothing against marching by any means necessary. It has its place. It has its place. But violence has its place as well. That's why on New Abolitionist Radio, Max decided to start doing a history in rebellion and bringing to light all of this violent resistance to the violent slavery that they're practicing against us. So all kind of promises was made to Miss Toya. That was the woman's name, Miss Toya Graham. Y'all remember her? And all kind of promises was made to her by black celebrities. And then after things died down, those black celebrities did not follow up with her son and did not deliver what was promised. And as Dr. Rick says, many of us are psychologically invested in celebrities because we've been beat down so much. We're living in poverty, and we want to see black people living good so we can live vicariously through them. That's what's going on with a lot of us. And I'm not going to say anything negative about those people. That's a mental illness that needs to be addressed. So not just going to be focusing on Monique, but my main focus is on, are we leveraging black dollars properly? Are we investing in black businesses? You know, we have people saying Netflix is lowballing Monique, or they lowballed Wanda Sykes. Okay, how many of you are lowballing black businesses? How many of you are taking from black people what black people have produced, and you don't give to that? Whether we talking a black business, you go in there and you don't want to pay the listed price, and you want a deal. You want to argue and you want to negotiate with a deal, and then even will threaten to go take your money somewhere else if they don't give you that deal. How many of you out there, again, I ain't on here to be your friend. I ain't on here to make you feel good. I ain't on here to reaffirm what you may already believe. I'm on here to speak my truth as I see it based off of my research and my observations, which could be incorrect because I suffer from mental illness just like y'all do. Actually, I'm not going to claim that, but I do suffer from PTSD from living behind these enemy lines. And I get emotional sometimes. I like to tell myself I'm being passionate, but really passion is in emotions. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that you're wrong for being in your emotions. I'm going to say you're incorrect to make emotional decisions. And we're making a lot of emotional decisions, and we need to do better. I need to do better. I definitely need to do better because I'm very sensitive to anti-blackness myself. If I hear a person talking about black people and their behaviors, and I feel like you're just being too harsh on black people. You just, you're calling us this, that, and the other, and I just think you're being too harsh. But sometimes, though, I'm in my emotions and getting defensive, and I don't want to acknowledge the hard, honest truth about us. And we have to if we are to progress, if we are to evolve, if we are to get better. The only way you can do that is by acknowledging your mistakes. And it's time out for us allowing people to leverage us for their personal gain, and they're not doing anything for the community. They not losing no jobs because because they out here taking a strong stand like a Colin Kaepernick, who was blackballed by the NFL, who is now suing the NFL for discrimination as allowed for by the 64 Civil Rights Act. Shout out to Dr. King and all those who fought to put that law on the book, because at least that's one avenue. If a person feels like they being discriminated against and they can collect evidence, they can take these employers to court. Okay? They can take them to court. But many of these people, they not getting blackballed as they proceed to be blackballed because they taking strong stands for the black community, because they calling slave catchers pigs or calling anybody out. Okay, it's for something else. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. We'll have an open conversation. If we have Christina Flowers on the line, please unmute yourself by hitting ***. If for some reason, because she out there putting in work, she's not able to join us tonight, then we'll reschedule her. Actually, she is interested in becoming a part of the Black Talk Radio Network. So, again, as you may have noticed, social media and black media platforms, and all of them not black owned, have been weighing in on, this situation with Monique, who called on black people to cancel their Netflix subscriptions, claiming racism and gender discrimination. However, the majority of black people, and I think that's a credit to us, are not acting in their emotions. I saw more videos today, and they're taking an analytical approach to analyzing this situation from a business perspective. Okay? And I put out a video on that. Other people have put out a video on that. We'll also hear this clip from Dr. Rick where he talking about it. And because the reason I'm going to play Dr. Rick is because I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD in psychology or anything like that. My expertise is in communications. My expertise is in using technology to create platforms for black people, to create black spaces. And I'm not a doctor, although I got pretty common sense. I know how to read. I'm not going to say I'm a dummy or anything, but some people only respect that doctor in front of that name or that PhD behind that name. So maybe if you didn't agree with my position that this is business, it ain't personal, I don't see that is racism. And I'm not one to yell out racism without any proof. We got enough people. It's real instances of racism that's not getting enough attention for us to be crying wolf. It's just being so played. It's like you're overplaying that card. And I do appreciate Mr. Fuller telling us, when we're on the job and we believe we're being mistreated because of racism, don't go up to them people and just, oh, y'all racist. Y'all doing this because of racism. There are procedures in place. You want to ask codified questions. You don't want to come out with accusations and just, because that's a heavy accusation right there in today's climate. It's a heavy accusation. So you need to have your proof. You need to go through the proper channels. You need to document everything so that you can get, we'll call it reparations or damages, as they call in the courts. And again, I hope Colin Kaepernick wins his case, because I think he has plenty evidence that there was collusion among NFL owners to keep him out of work. And he should sue Donald Trump as well, because it's illegal for a federal employee, including the president, the CEO of USA Inc., to be commenting publicly and trying to get somebody fired. So Colin Kaepernick, you need to sue Donald Trump as well once he gets out of office. All right. But I appreciate Mr. Fuller talking about that. I've had it. I was speaking to my mom about this. She admitted to doing it. I recall when I did it on the job, where I got in my emotions and I called somebody a racist, or I threatened to do them bodily harm on the job. That wasn't smart. That was not an intelligent way to counter racism in the workplace. So we have to learn to control our emotions. We are human beings. We have emotions, but we got to learn them Vulcan mind tricks, I guess. We have to learn how to use words to convey what we want to say in a codified manner. So let me play this clip for you. Again, we were supposed to have a guest schedule for tonight. I talked to her yesterday. Have not been able to reach her. I tried to reach her several times today, and she's not picking up. So I hope that Miss Christina is okay. She's doing important work in Baltimore in addressing homelessness. And they're actually having a fundraiser coming up in Baltimore. Let me just give out some of her information, especially if y'all in the Baltimore area. She is the founder at New Mayor of Baltimore City Homeless Community. She was actually once homeless herself, if I'm reading her bio correctly, in 2013, and she was living in a homeless encampment, and she helped get those 12 individuals out of that and into a residence. And she says that God has just been filling her ever since with solutions and partnerships to house and assist over 600 individuals and families through her module of emergency supportive housing for our homeless in the streets. Homelessness is a very serious issue. So again, I'm not on here to try to make somebody look bad. I'm on here to report facts to you. The facts are what they are. But I'm saying, if you're going to spend your social capital on somebody, you better make sure that they worthy of it. You better make sure that they've been putting social capital in the community bank. And that if they're going to withdraw capital, that's because they didn't put capital in the community. We can't just be giving away our capital like that. So I want to play this clip. I'm not going to play it all. But this is Dr. Rick Wallace, PhD, psychology. Follow him on YouTube. He talks about several different issues. I think his primary work is focused on incest, affecting black boys and children and being abused and whatnot. There's some ugliness going on in our community, so we got to address it all. We can't be ashamed to address it. It ain't just happening in our community, but we can't turn a blind eye to stuff because we don't want to look bad in front of others. They're going to talk bad about us regardless. If everything was peachy in the community, they still going to put out propaganda about us. But this is Rick Wallace. I want you to pay close attention to this doctor talking about this. So let me cue that up for you.
Them more
informed.
It's about 47 minutes long, but I'm not going to play it all. I probably only play 15 minutes of it because he really, drops some insightful knowledge from a psychological perspective in the first 15 minutes. So again, he's on YouTube. It's Dr. Rick Wallace, PhD. Every time he publishes a video, I post it in btrcommunity.com.
In the process of establishing your values, those things that have a moment that can be used as sort of a moment of enlightenment or a teaching moment, so to speak. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Marley, Eddie, all you guys. It's good to see you dropping in. I just want to share my perspective very briefly about the situation with Monique. It's been trending for a while. It's getting a lot of attention, both positively and negatively. I think in certain instances, you simply have to really, truly look at who you are, examine where you are on your value scale, what things are important to you, and you operate in that area. You have to be true to yourself. But what you want to do is be well informed in the process of establishing your values, those things that are important to you, those things that serve your basic interests. And so when determining how you're going to spend your money, I think it's really important to really, truly develop an understanding of how everything works, what matters to you and why it matters to you, what it means to your immediate periphery, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your community, and what that community means to you and what you plan on meaning in the way of contribution to that community. When I sit up and I first heard that, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. My initial response, and I did post it, a few sentences, and it just basically said that we have a problem first and foremost is because we're starstruck. Because we have struggled so mightily to gain any type of footing, any type of respect, any type of acknowledgement, any type of financial success in this country and globally for that matter, we tend to live vicariously through those who have. We live vicariously through our athletes. We live vicariously through our music entertainers. We live vicariously through actors and comedians. We connect and find ways to identify with them. And we have done it at a level that we will fight ferociously to defend or attack, depending on where they fit. But we spend a great deal of our time and energy that's dangerous because they know that. And they will use our influence or our position to leverage their own position. My feeling was, and I could be wrong for this, and I want to make that clear, but based on where I've been and being a person who has feet on the ground, being a person that is currently overwhelmed right now with young black boys and young black girls who have been in some way abused, primarily through childhood sexual abuse and incest. A lot of them dealing with suicidal ideations and a bunch of other things. A lot of things are going on in the community on that level, on a financial level. We're dealing with gentrification. We're dealing with the miseducation of youth. We're dealing with the disintegration of the black family. We're dealing with a widening gap as far as wealth equality and the wealth gap in particular. We've got a lot of things we're dealing with on a regular basis. And I'm very cognizant of blacks who have bully pulpits or platforms on which they could speak and create an influence in our communities, in our movements, and in helping us to gain some traction. And I'm watching. And my only concern with Monique, first and foremost, was that I haven't really seen her present. I haven't seen her speaking. And the black dollar is coveted. It's coveted, number one, is because if you can appeal to the black population, they will spend their money. They spend their money for more than they invest their money, especially when it comes to investing in themselves. They have no problem we have no problem collectively investing in the very system that oppresses us. In other words, financing and funding our own demise. So when we finally come to a point to where we are going to start agreeing on those places we're going to withdraw our money out of and those places we're going to redirect it to, it's important to understand what's at stake. Now, when I look at Netflix is a white-owned company. Like 90-something percent of the media outlets out of that, 13,000 and something media outlets, recognized media outlets, roughly less than 80 are owned by blacks. And that's from the biggest to the smallest. Well, that means we're not telling our story. We're not providing jobs to other blacks in those industries. And so that's a problem. So when I look at Netflix, they're not off limits. It's just that if we're going to go at them, we need to have an agenda and we need to be supporting something we can truly get behind, that we can stand behind, that lines up with the value system. So it wasn't that I believe that we don't support someone when they come to us and say that, but what is your track record with us? How have you historically dealt with us? Have you capitalized off of us when you were at your peak? And what did you do with what you capitalized with? Did you turn around and reinvest in us? And if I can't see a track record of that, then that's my problem with saying, let's get on board with it. Now, if I'm wrong about that, if you can show me where she's done it consistently, not sound bites, not little stuff you throw out there, but someone that's been actively involved enough to sit up and say, I want your support. Because this is what happens with a lot, and I don't want to see become a trend, is black actors, black athletes, black celebrities, period, leveraging the black dollar to position themselves when they haven't historically been a part of the black struggle. That's my primary concern. Now, while saying that, I do want to segue a little bit away, digress maybe, and say that while we are addressing the economic dynamic or her request for our support, I think that we have to, as a collective, manage that in a way that is civil, a way that is respectful, and a way that is representative of black love. All of us have humored, all of us have made mistakes. Unfortunately, celebrities end up living theirs out in a public eye, which makes them more exposed and people have a little bit more insight into their personal life. And so we get a lot of information to take shots. I don't think taking shots at her, if you don't like her, you don't like her. Nobody's going to make you like her. I can understand her pain. And looking at the numbers, I believe Chris Rock is doing a special on Netflix for $20 million. Dave Chappelle is getting $20 million for a special. And Amy Schumer, a white female, is getting, I think, $13 million. I started out at $11 million. I think she actually went back to the table and got more money. So I think it's like $13 million. Now, first and foremost, when you compare those numbers to the $500,000 that they're offering Monique, you can easily draw the conclusion that they're lowballing her. But here's the argument that Monique makes that doesn't make sense to me. She says that she wants us to boycott Netflix because of racial bias and gender bias. The problem is this: two black men are getting $20 million apiece, so it can't be racial bias. And a female is getting $13 million, so it can't be gender bias. So then you have to ask yourself, why are they lowballing her? Or are they actually lowballing her? Or have they actually done their homework and they believe that she's lost a great part of her audience because of some of her past behaviors, because of some of the things that have taken place over the last couple of years that have kind of left her out? And over the past couple of years, there's no recent track record to show that she can pull the type of money that would justify $1 million payday. Now, what they have shown is that they don't have a problem paying black people, at least black men, significant money because they know they're going to bring in money. So that sounds like a business decision to me. When it comes to a female, albeit she's white, they're willing to pay her $13 million. From what I understand, Amy Schumer went to him to negotiate and basically said, "Hey, look, I don't expect to make what those guys make. Those guys have established themselves as legends. I don't believe I'm a legend, but I believe based on my recent track record, I deserve more than 11 million." She got a couple million more, and she's happy with that. And so when I look at it from a business perspective, I remove my emotions. I remove the fact that I know I'm in a very racially driven society, a racially driven situation, and the industry is racially driven as well. There's no way of getting around that. Then I have to ask myself, okay, pull yourself back. Don't look at it emotionally. Let's look at it from a business sense. In the same way I have to look at and examine every time a black person gets shot in the street. A lot of times it's absolutely unnecessary and it needs to be addressed. Sometimes they're asking for it, and you don't want that argument in your address, in your fight, a part of your struggle, because it takes away. When you got somebody that you were looking at and say, "I would have shot him," that's not a person you want a part of that. So when you look at a situation, you say, okay, we're going to go to fight for those of our people who are being mistreated and mishandled in any area, regardless of celebrity status. You want to make sure you're representing people that you can go fight for. Now, you have to ask yourself, not understanding in great detail how all of this is done, but understanding from a marketing perspective and understanding being able to read the metrics and look at what what her following is. And you can do that by following her social media accounts and finding out what kind of following she has that are actively engaging her on a regular basis. When she posts on Instagram, what kind of push is she getting? When she's posting on Facebook, when she's posting on Twitter, what kind of push is she getting? What kind of engagement is she getting? That's going to give you an idea, especially for those who do this for a living. They're going to know, okay, we can pretty much expect this based on her following here. We can expect A, B, C, and D. We can normally get this with a 5% one way or another. We can get this. So they know. My thing is they've already shown pretty much that if it'll make money, they'll put it out there. They've done that over and over again. This isn't the only situation where they are giving black people opportunities. Now, if someone like, my God, why can't I think of her name right now? She's real big, black actress, was on Girls Trip. Anyway, I cannot think of her name right now. If they offered her $500,000 right now, then I would say, okay, we have an argument that there's an issue going on here where they're lowballing black women because she's hot right now. Every time I look up, she's being booked somewhere. Every time I look up, there's something popping up on Tiffany Haddish. Okay, now if they did that with her right now, because she's eating right now. Okay, if they did that to her, then I would say, okay, but Monique hasn't done anything of any significance since she won the Oscar. That was an immediate pushback with her ongoing battle with Lee Daniels. And I'm not even saying she was wrong for that, understanding some of his own ulterior motives for the work he puts out and how he does things. I'm not saying she's wrong for that. But what I'm saying is, if they're looking at what you can do, it's not their job to sit up and say, man, we know you've had a rough chance. We're just going to put you on and pay you. That's not how the business operates. The business says, okay, we're going to let you eat. We're going to eat too. But if we can't eat as much as we're paying you, that's not a good business deal. And so whatever the formula they are looking at, you would have to really look at and measure the metrics. And I'm wondering if what she's doing is not totally emotional. She's been through a lot. And I'm not here to say how much of it was self-inflicted and how much of it is industry, because it's a combination of both. And we tend to act emotionally when things happen, because truth of the matter is that's all we've had for so long is emotional responses and reactions to things that we believe we don't have any control over. Here's the thing. All of this can be settled if we started to redirect our money. Now, here's what I am for. All of this can be settled if we started to redirect our money and actually started to build our own. If we started to build our own media outlets, our own media empires, our own way to take the talent that we have, create great content, quality content that we want to watch, that we love watching, we are so gifted. We're so talented. We have unbelievably creative minds. We wouldn't just hit the black audience. We've proven over and over again through history that while they can't stand us, they will pay to watch us sing, watch us dance, watch us act. Denzel hasn't been labeled as one of the greatest actors ever just because black people were watching it. Same thing with Will Smith. Same thing with a lot of us. Now, you can go into all the other stuff that, some of these cats may have been doing or whatever. And I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother topic. It's kind of funny because I'm going to be closing out on the fourth day, a 4-day series on the media and the power of it to influence the mind this week. So it just kind of got me how this is going. But I think that it's really important for us to truly understand the dynamic. I'm not upset with her. I believe that when you're frustrated, you kind of act out and you do. My thing is this what we want? Because what I can tell you, it's hard to get black people to come together and boycott something. When I see something and I'm saying I'm going to get behind it, I want to be something that 6 months from now, 12 months from now, like the NFL boycott. I don't think we got the push that we really wanted from our people based on what we were really standing and fighting for. But we did get participation, and we got consistent participation. We've got people who haven't watched the game this year or who haven't sit up and watched the game at home. Now, if you're out somewhere else and somebody in the bar or somebody's playing the game, that's a different thing. But we did get some participation, and we know for a fact that it hit their pockets. We know for a fact that it caused some disruption. I think we lost a lot of traction when certain players basically hijacked the movement and made it about them and negotiated some sort of closure deal with the NFL that made it a little bit less intense. I think we lost some traction there. I think, but again, that's another area where when you make up a significant part of the talent in the NFL, you're talking about 72% of the players in the NFL.
All right, I'm going to stop it there, but you can watch the rest of this video. It has about, 30-something more minutes. But I had to play that because, number one, some people don't want to hear nothing or they don't respect nothing or a point of view unless somebody got a PhD or behind their name or a DR before their name. So this is a psychologist, and I'm actually happy I found him on YouTube because he's coming at these things from an analytical approach, not only just from his industry, from his training in psychology, but I mean just some common sense things that he's speaking about there. And there are just so much just in that first 17 minutes that I just played for you to unpack here. All right. So, like I said, it's a lot to unpack here. And as I stated, we had to be careful how we're leveraging our black dollars. Are we leveraging our black dollars appropriately? I put out a video. Okay, if you're going to boycott Netflix, which I'm not boycotting Netflix, okay? And the reason I'm not boycotting Netflix because I don't see any reason to. When I see black people getting their own shows, not just comedy, but situational comedies and action movies and where it's featuring black people. Will Smith just got another, and they about to turn that into a series, okay? So I'm not seeing the blatant racism that she's claiming here. When I know that one of our media partners who I put in a video, for those that have been regularly following Black Talk Radio Network for the past 3 years, y'all know that every year we help promote the Hip Hop Film Festival in New York City by Charlotte Capers. Y'all might know her from a radio program called Why You Mad, Son, but she's a black filmmaker. And her festival is successful and it's getting more successful. But then she leveraged that into a black streaming platform. Ain't nobody really, well, I'm not going to say nobody, but we need to be supporting her. If you're going to boycott Netflix, if you're going to tell people to boycott Netflix, don't just tell them to take your money out of something, tell them where to go invest it into. Look, I understand that we need to unwind sometimes, Also, we can learn stuff from documentaries or just we need to wind down a couple of hours and watch a movie or something. Okay? Then if we're going to tell someone to take their money out of Netflix, which ain't but $10 a month, it might be $11 a month, which ain't nothing really. Well, I shouldn't say that. Given the economic deprivation of the black community, $10 is a lot of money to a lot of people. But we should be telling them, okay, we don't want to support Netflix for whatever reason. We want to go put our money here. You want to watch streaming videos, movies, short films, web series, you need to go to Hip Hop Film Festival TV.com. It's HHFF.TV.com. Monique didn't do that. Monique didn't say we need to support black businesses. She didn't say we need our black filmmakers to come together. We need to build our own thing. Because these people are always mistreating us. They're not paying us right. We're making them all this money, and we settling for crumbs. That's not where she coming from. All that money collectively that these black celebrities have, you got to ask yourself, why haven't they followed the model of a Charlotte Capers with Hip Hop Film Festival and her streaming, website? Then there's another one that Sister Red shared with us in BTR Community, which I've already taken a subscription out to, just $5 a month. And it's looking good so far. And it's called Quelly TV, Quelly.tv. So if we're going to say we need to boycott something because, Netflix is real cheap, and a lot of people can't afford those other type of cable subscriptions or whatnot. So, it's a cheap form of entertainment. Although, you got documentaries on there, and Netflix did contract with Ava DuVernay, as I pointed out in a video, to make a documentary about the most important thing on my mind, and I think should be on everybody's mind, and that's modern day slavery and human trafficking via the 13th Amendment. Okay? But so if we're going to say take your money out of this, we should be pointing them to a black alternative, right? If I'm going to tell people we need to get off of Twitter, I need to have an alternative to Twitter, because all these things are tools, okay? We need to have an alternative to Twitter. If we don't like that Twitter doesn't have a lot of black people working for them, no black people on the executive board, nothing like that. And then black Twitter got so many black people on it. Twitter got so many black people on it. It's got a subculture on there called Black Twitter. We making Twitter a lot of money. Okay, but we're going to say boycott Twitter. Then what's the replacement for that? There's a website I understand called Blitter. It's called Blitter. It's the black Twitter. How many of us are on black Twitter? Okay, how many of us are, and I don't think they've rolled it out fully yet, but are you going to leave Twitter and go there? And even if you don't leave, are you going to at least spend some time on some of these black social media sites? Or are you going to stay all on these white, predominantly white platforms? And then when they commit an act of racism, then you want to whine, you want to cry, you want to say they ain't treating us right, and we need our own this and that. And then when somebody comes along and builds our own this and that, we don't support it. We stay right there. Again, I'm not telling you to abandon these platforms completely, but are you incorporating black social networks? Are you helping black people to establish something? So that's why I'm talking about emotions and us being emotional. And I was angry the other day. I got in my emotions the other day. I was, checking my YouTube subscriptions, and I saw I forget the name of the channel. If somebody knows the name of the channel, they can tell me. But Mr. Fuller does a radio program. It's not on the Black Talk Radio Network. I would love to have them come to Black Talk Radio. I'm not sure who they doing business with. Talktainment. I don't think Talktainment is black owned, but that I'm not gonna go into that. But I saw a YouTube clip as they make clips of the show, and the title of the clip was, black people are babies in the system. And I got offended at that. I was sensitive. I'm very sensitive to when I perceive something is anti-black. And I got it emotional. And I didn't really give it a chance to sink in the information that he was relaying. And then after several days, I was like, he's right. And again, white people are to blame. This system is to blame. Because they don't teach us to think independent of the system. They teach us to be dependent on the system. And so he said that we're babies. And I thought about that. I was like, he's right. What do babies do? Babies whine and cry. What is another characteristic of a baby? A baby don't know how to do nothing for itself. A baby's totally dependent upon their parents. Because they can't do anything. They're babies. They don't know anything. They can't do anything except basically whine and cry and crap. And I was like, you know what? While that isn't, and I'm not saying that he was doing that, but there's always exceptions to the rule. But you have to admit, that's how we've been behaving in this system. It's little babies who act like we don't know how to do nothing for ourselves. When we get an abusive parent, that white person, that system is our white parent. When they abuse us, we cry and we whine like babies do. But then as soon as they do something to appease us, put the pacifier in our mouth, then we quiet and we all good. And we stay right. We go right back. Soon as they lift that 3-day Facebook jail ban, we right back on there. Right back on there. Soon as Twitter unsuspend us, we right back on there. YouTube, we know they demonetized a lot of black content, which they wasn't never monetizing our content anyway, which, we're a nonprofit. But we're right back on there. We're not seeking out black alternatives, which I found a black alternative through our volunteer in the UK called Black Junction TV. And I've been putting Black Talk, and they got a revenue sharing model. And I've been putting Black Talk Radio News on there to give it a try, to support this black person. Unfortunately, I'm starting to find a lot of world star hip hop type stuff on there. See, we'll support that kind of stuff, but something positive. And I don't think that it was not his intent to create another world star hip hop, but he's duplicating what YouTube got, all the same categories that YouTube got. But yet we got all these black people who have huge followings on YouTube, and they whined and they cried when YouTube demonetized their content, when they got labeled black identity extremists. Did they go to Black Junction TV? No, they didn't. Now, Black Junction TV is a startup. They can't do live streaming right now. But they would be if enough people were over there. Right? If we took all our audience on YouTube over to Black Junction TV, that would generate revenue for Black Junction TV, and they would be able to implement the live streaming feature. I can do that on btrcommunity.com. The infrastructure is already in place, but we don't have the funds. We don't have the funds to justify turning that on, especially when we ain't got enough black people on there. When you consider that 60,000 people every month, and this was last month as well, The month before it was 64,000 individuals tuned in to Black Talk Radio. This is every day from 138 different, no, it was 128 different countries. You would think that we would have more than the 175 subscribers that we got on BTR Community. You getting all this content for free because we're a nonprofit. We do take donations. And while we do provide services for a fee, those services are very low. I mean, the fees are very low because I don't believe in overcharging people. We are a nonprofit. We're not on here to make a profit. We're on here to elevate Black voices to speak on the issues that need to be spoke on without threat of censorship and what have you. So we want to say that Netflix, some of us, let me use my words correctly, some of us, and I know I'm overdue for my music break, but some of us, we want to say that Netflix is lowballing Monique and they ain't paying Monique what we think she is worth. Again, you know, there's business metrics involved, and he was absolutely correct because I had did a video before he did doing the same thing because I looked at their social media profiles and all that because I was looking at it from a business perspective. But all these people that's listening to the radio stream, either through TuneIn or coming to the website directly, listening on their mobile phones, on their computers, they not putting nothing back into Black Talk Radio. You know we're not going to get corporate advertisement. You know I've said I'm not going to seek government grants. You know I've said I'm not going to take white corporate money because strings come attached with that. But yet 60,000 people a month can tune in and they listen on the average of a little over an hour. And we got less than 200 people making donations. You think that might figure into Netflix's analysis that Black people ain't paying for stuff? Let's be real about it now. I'm not on here to be your friend, although I love you because you're my family member. But I'm going to talk to you the same way I talk to my children. Not calling you a child or anything, but I'm talking to you the same way I'm bluntly honest with my family members. Not on here to make you like me. I'm on here to talk about important social issues. But the truth of the matter is that y'all know, let's be real about it. Monique's base ain't gonna pay for no subscriptions on Netflix if they ain't already got them. They're going to wait for somebody to record it, throw it on bootleg, on a CD or a DVD, and wait for somebody to come through the barbershop or come through the beauty salon with some $5 DVDs. You know how I know? Because I did it. I used to get all my movies that way about 20-something years ago. Y'all know bootleg DVDs big in the Black community. Whether it's because we don't have money or it's because we're trying to save money. But then, like some people told me, we still got income. And if those 60,000 people was given $1 a month to this nonprofit, providing you with free digital public Black media, not just this station, but a number of stations, I wouldn't have to be threatening to shut down in 2019 because I can't be struggling every month to pay the bills. I can't keep asking volunteers to do work for free. So let's just be real about that. Before I go to our music break, let me check the board. It's open dialogue. If you want to add a perspective or point of view that I'm not considering, then please do that. The telephone number is 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit star to unmute yourself. So are we blackballing black businesses? Are we undercutting black businesses? Are we stealing the time and energy of other black people? But then we get mad when a black celebrity says, hey, these white people don't want to pay me $500,000 for 90 minutes. But yet here we are on Black Talk Radio providing you with content 24/7. Are you supporting it? Are you supporting these other black platforms? We got btrcommunity.com, social media platform. We're not the only one. We're not the only one. Are we supporting them? I think I hear something. We got a call from somebody named Kia. Kia, I'm going to get your comment, and then we're going to take our music break. But someone under the name Kia has called in. Thank you for calling in to BTR News. Go ahead with your question or comment. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know I'm doing a computer. Thank you so much. I've followed a long time. Good to hear from you. I think that all of it could be true. Like, it's bad that she's not getting support or whatever support she feels. But if we were building up this network or any other network, then she would have a place to go. Then you wouldn't have to complain about not going somewhere else. You would just go to your own. Like, I never hear about Asian people complaining. They just do whatever they do on their channel. I know growing up in New York, a lot of black people who weren't American, Haitian, Jamaican, whatever, they would have their own little small channels and do their own little programs there. I didn't hear them complaining. That's just what they did. If they couldn't find whatever they wanted to find, they went and watched whatever they wanted to on their own network. And that's what we need to do. And I think in addition, it is important to support black businesses. It's important to encourage them to do a good job. But sometimes they're hard to find. Because I live in a city where I know there should be plenty of black businesses. I don't know where they are. They don't advertise. I don't know where these people are. And this is a mostly black city. I have no idea where these people are that run their own business. I know a lady who does shoes and the mortgage person, which I had a bad experience. Those don't. That's what I know.
Okay.
So it's hard to support what you don't know.
That's true.
And I haven't looked.
That's true. And a lot of times, though, black businesses go out of business because we're not supporting them. Now, I understand we expect good service from everybody, but let's also be honest that we don't get good service from non-black.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I stopped going to them, too. And this thing with Netflix, I mean, I can see where she has a problem with it. But personally, like you said, I got my subscription from my mother, and some white guy that she went to school with is paying for hers. So we're not paying for Netflix. I don't know what to do.
All right. Did you have anything further?
No, but it's a good show. Oh, well, you're right about the support, and we do need to support more. Because I signed up for that BTR thing. I think you asked for some donation or something.
$24 a year.
And, hello?
Yes, I said $24 a year.
No, this was like before that you had to get it set up and you asked for help or something.
Oh,
and
yes.
I asked for that. And I never got on because I'm not on Facebook. I don't do that. I just did that because y'all needed help. I was like, well, I guess this was.
And you did help. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You and about 20 other people. I mean, because look, so y'all called into the network. Y'all said we need our own Facebook. I said, okay, I know what the software costs, and I can put it on our server, and we'll have our own social media. And it only costs like $300 for me to get the software, and then the rest was just, me putting in man hours. And we did it. But you know what, though? If we're just a small group, just think it's a small group of people who made BTR community happen. If that mindset was the majority and not a small minority, what we could accomplish.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I think it's sometimes we get overwhelmed because you have good content. If you listen to all the problems, sometimes it's too much. And I think for us, like you know that there are a lot of problems, but you also know the areas you focus in: slavery and the communication. Those are your areas that you focus in. If there are other areas, you know to call people to bring in and let them talk about that. Sometimes we don't know how to do that, so sometimes we get stuck. So we have to learn, and sometimes it takes a while for us to get unstuck with the awe of the problems and just like solve this one or
Mm-hmm.
work on this one till you grow and able to do others.
All right. Well, thank you for your comments. Feel free to chime back in later
Okay, thank
on if you have something else to share. No, thank you. Thank you for being a supporter of the work of the Black Talk Media Project. And again, I'm not just making this about Monique. Again, I do agree that we have to look at it um, from a business perspective, and these people are looking at what you can bring in. Okay, so I understand her position that she feel like she worth more. Okay, she feel like it's okay for her to feel like that. But it's also okay for them to say, look, based on our metrics and our analytics, we just can't pay you that because we don't think your base is going to translate into new subscriptions. Let's be honest about that. If I'm giving, if the Black Talk Media Project and most of these hosts, ain't none of these hosts on Black Talk Media Project, on Black Talk Radio Network being paid. They putting in hours and hours and hours of work because they love you and they trying to solve a problem and they trying to provide an alternative. Ain't none of us being paid. Ain't none of us being paid. Okay? So it's hard for me to say, hey, 500,000, that ain't nothing. That's peanut. Do you know how many media centers that we could put in the black community if we had a budget of $500,000 annually? Because that's my vision. That's my ultimate goal. It's not just to have a Black Talk Radio. It's to have a media center, a physical building where the community can come on and learn the technology and then be the local radio station to replace the radio stations that we lost because white people killed it. White people killed it. Bill Clinton and the Republicans killed black radio. And we're going to lose more stations because of what the FCC just now allowing these big white corporations to have put even more terrestrial stations in the hood, in the cities, and I should say in the market. How's the black? And then they'll hire black faces that they can control, black voices that they can control. Then you're not getting it brought to you raw and uncensored. I have a plan. I picked up and I learned things from the U.S. military. I'm not proud of what I did in the U.S. military, but now I want to apply that knowledge, that area of expertise in technology and radio communications that I learned from them and do it for our community. But I can't do it without any kind of help. And that is what we need to be doing, and not, like Mr. Fuller said, being babies in the system, whining and crying about our needs ain't getting met by an abusive parent called Uncle Sam or Miss Ann or somebody else. These black celebrities got too much collective wealth for them not to have come together and put together a platform. Again, we ain't talking about huge invest. It don't cost, I ain't gonna say it don't cost a lot of money, but it's not beyond their means. If Charlotte Capers can do it, so can they. If the guy, the award-winning director, I think he won an NAACP Image Award director, can launch Quelly TV and put black movies, have all these different channels on there. If he can do it, why Monique ain't go to him? Why Wanda Sykes ain't go to him? Because he ain't got that kind of money to pay her, Because guess what? Black people ain't subscribing to him like they subscribe. And I understand the last caller made a valid point about we don't know about a lot of these things. So we got to do better in promoting this and putting this out. That's why I made that video highlighting his platform and Charlotte's platform. And I'm happy that people said, thank you for this information. I'm taking out my subscription today. I had a lady tell me I signed up. I'm on a 7-day trial, and I'm liking it so far. Okay? But these people, these celebrities, and it's not just people like Monique. We see these black news anchors get fired. Melissa Harris Perry got fired. I'm not sure if they removed Tamaron Hall or not. I think they might have got reduced Al Sharpton's show. They just got rid of Roland Martin's show. These people collectively have millions and millions of followers. They have been paid. Some of them millions of dollars, but they got millions of dollars collectively. And I said this in the past. And I said this, actually, I wrote it in an email to the National Association of Black Journalists, where they were complaining about not enough black anchors in the newsroom. I said, wait a minute. Why y'all begging to be on white people's platforms? Why aren't y'all using technology, new media technology, to create black news platforms? It ain't no excuse for it. And I had to go back to what Mr. Fuller said about being babies in the system. We want to whine, we want to cry that our white parent is abusing us and neglecting us and not giving us jobs and all that. But we ain't going out here creating jobs for ourselves. It's on all of us. It's on them for having resources and not creating alternatives, which will also create jobs. And then it's on us as well for not supporting those who step out on faith that black people gonna support them, not just by word, but by deed. It's on all of us, and we have to do better. And with that said, I'm going to take a music break so I can get some water because my throat is kind of scratchy right now. Y'all know I was under the weather about a week or so ago, and I still have not fully recovered, but I'm not complaining. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side. And I want to get into, if we're going to support black people, if we're going to, like Dr. Rick was saying, we're going to answer their call to use our social capital to boycott this or boycott that. That person got to be worthy, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And people can talk a good game about being pro-black and talk like they identify with the struggles of the community. But like he said, you got to have a track record. And Monique don't have no track record, y'all. She don't. And she's actually said some things that has harmed Baltimore. And I'll share that. It's not just to pick on her, because I'm going to also talk about how Van Jones was supposed to get that black boy who got buck braked in the streets a scholarship and didn't do it. And Steve Harvey was supposed to bring that boy to his mentorship camp and didn't do it. We got to quit letting black celebrities play us. We have to stop basing our self-esteem on how well some black celebrity figurehead is doing. And again, I'm not scolding you. We all are suffering from PTSD and some form of mental illness. That's to be expected when you living under the horrendous conditions. But we got to do better. They not going to heal us. We going to have to heal ourselves. So y'all stay tuned. You're listening to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed, broadcasting every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. on the Black Talk Radio Network.
Hi, the Black Talk Media Project would like to invite you to become a member of the BTR Community subscription-based social media platform. BTR Community is a platform that was set up for the listening audience of Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent black radio network online. For just $24 per year, your subscription gives you access to an interactive space to share information with like-minded people with your privacy guaranteed. Your subscription will go a long way to help us maintain and improve our current media platforms. It will also help provide a budget so that we can begin the task of establishing localized media centers and radio stations across the United States. The best way to show your support and appreciation for what we do here at Black Talk Radio is to subscribe. Help us to help you be informed. Join btrcommunity.com today.
Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, that's all I wanna do. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, got a feel for you. Chaka Khan, what you tell me what you wanna do? Do you feel for me the way I feel for you? Chaka Khan, let me tell you what I wanna do. I wanna love you, wanna hug you, wanna squeeze you too. And let me take it in my arms, let me feel you with my charm, Chaka. Cause you know that I'm the one to keep you warm, Chaka. I make it more than just a physical dream. I wanna rock you, Chaka, baby, cause you make me wanna scream. Let me rock it, rock it. Feel for you.
right now, but if you leave your name and number, we'll get back to you.
In 2008, the Black Talk Media Project launched the digital radio platform Black Talk Radio Network, the first such platform created to serve the black community specifically. Black Talk Radio Network has grown with a variety of radio hosts, digital radio stations, and podcasters. Web analytics say Black Talk Radio, the platform, has an online reach that ranks it among the top independent black media platforms in the world. All of this is possible because of financial contributions to the nonprofit Black Talk Media Project. If you love the work we do and the voices and perspectives we bring to you every day, make a donation today to ensure that Black Talk Radio is here in the future. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium. You're listening to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc., where slavery was never abolished despite the lies your teacher told you. If you read the 13th Amendment of the Constitution, you'll know that what I'm saying is true. They never abolished slavery, y'all, and we need to end it. And like Dr. Rick said, he also talking about where we're going to withdraw our money from. And I want to keep reiterating this, and I'm going to do it the rest of this year. I may even make, but I'm a contract with one of these black voice artists to make a promo telling black people or anybody who's listening to take their money out of the 6 banks that is underwriting private prisons. Now, private prisons are just one aspect of the modern system of slavery and human trafficking, but they are the ones who lobby these politicians to put laws on the books that have led to what they call mass incarceration, which again is a continuation of slavery. So if we could put pressure on those banks to stop underwriting slavery and human trafficking through the private prisons, then that will be a huge victory. That will be a battle won in this war to end slavery. So again, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. How are we going to spend our social capital? Okay, take your money. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not trying to make you keep your money in Netflix or whatever. Even though Netflix has invested some money in like the Hip Hop Film Festival and being one of their sponsors, helping black film producers and whatnot. I'm not on here to do an advertisement for Netflix, okay? But what I am saying is, if you're going to take your money out of something, you definitely need to take it out of not Wachovia, but Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo swallowed up Wachovia, but you need to take your money out of Wells Fargo. You need to take your money out of Bank of America. You need to take your money out of J.P. Morgan Chase. You need to take your money out of SunTrust. And you need to take your money out of BNP Paribas. Okay? I don't have the list in front of me right now, but that's what we need to boycott. Let's boycott something that's really going to make a difference in our lives. All right? And I want to put pressure on these celebrities, especially because they got man, somebody calculate. Let's do a guesstimation. How much y'all think all of these black celebrities, including professional athletes, collectively are worth? Hell, if we just take Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, and P. Diddy, there's $3 billion right there. That's $3 billion. Just those two. Those three. It probably would be. It would probably be approaching $1 trillion. If we could divest $1 trillion from banks that's underwriting slavery, man, that's doing something. That's saying something. That's making a statement. Okay. So if we're going to leverage black dollars, let's leverage them in a way to where the most people benefit, especially the people that need the most help. Now, again, on the issue of we can't allow celebrities who have not invested social capital into our communities withdraw social capital out of our communities. This isn't just a bash or anything like that. Monique, I hope she listening. She been going on all the black radio shows. Maybe she know about black talk radio. Maybe she listening. Monique, we need you to do better. We don't need you to talk about the problems. We need you to invest some of your capital in solving the problems. And you ain't got to work on trying to solve the problems of all the people in this country. You just work on Baltimore. Now, I'm going to play this clip for you. And I understand it. A lot of these celebrities don't want to get the Colin Kaepernick treatment. It's not like the 60s where you had a lot of black celebrities who was funding social movements and programs and things of that nature. Okay, a lot of them celebrities was supporting the Black Panther Party. Not just the civil rights movement, but the Black Panther Party. Plus, the Black Panther Party was selling a national newspaper, like how we try to get y'all to take a $24 a year subscription out so we can fund our stuff. We can fund our stuff. And we don't have to rely on these corporations. But I'm going to play this clip for you, and I understand. Listen to Monique's answer to this question from a white person, even though this is BET, this is published on BET.com. But they dance all around the questions and they give the codified answer because they don't want to sound too black. I shouldn't say that. They don't want to sound too radical, too revolutionary, because they know the powers that be, the people that's in control of the system, are not going to give them butter biscuits if they do. Okay? So keep that in mind when we listening to this clip. So let me cue that up.
You know, I think that what's happening in Baltimore, I think that what's happening around the world, around our country, and it's not just Baltimore, it's just Baltimore's turn. And we're having our young people now saying, are you going to listen? Are you going to hear me? And anytime there's been change, there's been an uproar. There's been a big explosion. There's never been a quiet change. You had to say, we need change, and this is what has to take place. Do we want them to stop the destruction? Of course. Do you understand it? Of course. Because when you're in a place where you've taken away the recreation centers, you've taken away after-school intramurals. Remember intramurals? You've taken everything away, and you're shutting down schools, but you're building more prisons. So now I think we're at a place where we have to listen. And the things that used to work, let's bring them back. Our rec centers, they worked. Intramurals, it worked. After school, they all worked. So we're missing that right now, and I think that's what we really need to bring back.
How would you feel if one of your sons wanted to riot?
You know, it depends on if...
I'm going to stop it right there because, see, she getting ready to contradict herself. But, I mean, let me just say this, and I'll play the rest. Monique know about the problems of the community. Now, the Baltimore uprising wasn't about no rec centers being closed down. It wasn't about no after-school or intramural programs being closed down. That ain't why they was out there. It was out there in the street because another black person was murdered by these slave-catching cops. Now, on one hand, she say, change isn't quiet. Okay? Change, you need to hear these people. Change isn't quiet. But then, on the same time, again, look who she talking to. And look who she trying to get butter biscuits from. She's saying, but do we want them to stop the destruction? Yeah. Martin Luther King said the riot is an expression of the unheard. Now, I don't use the term riot. I call it an uprising. And you tell me where any kind of struggle has not had violence and destruction in it. The United States is bombing how many countries right now trying to bring about change and not any kind of positive change. So she knows the problems. Okay? Now, when I heard the clip, because I wanted to do my research, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't on here talking about what I don't know about. That Monique and other people like Monique, these celebrities, are not putting back into the community. So whether I agree with her or not, on if the problem is that's part of the problem. I'll say that. No after school stuff for children. And of course, she just told you about they building prisons. We just reported last week on New Abolitionist Radio about that $33 million prison, brand spanking new for children that they just put in Baltimore. At the same time, while these children in the schools of Baltimore is having to wear their winter coats inside the building because they ain't got enough funds to turn the doggone heat on. Now, after that, you would think Monique would start a foundation. I did my research. Would start a foundation to sponsor at least one rec center in Baltimore, to fund at least one intramural program, And not funded by herself, but get her celebrity friends to pitch in. Give a benefit concert. Prince, may he rest in power, wasn't from Baltimore. But he went to Baltimore and he put on a benefit concert and donated a portion of the proceeds to grassroots organizations in Baltimore. And a couple of other artists were part of that. I was saying to myself, man, did Monique host that? Was she the master of ceremony? That's her hometown. Did she warm up the crowd for Prince? Was she coming on between sets and saying this stuff that we need to fund programs for our youth in Baltimore? They ain't got nothing. They closing schools and all. No, she did not. She didn't. And if she is, I could not find a reference to it. I couldn't find a reference to it. Ask yourself, how many of these celebrities have you seen, and it's some out there, but it's not a lot, that's raising money for black children to go to college? What they call that, the United Negro College Fund or whatever. Okay? On a consistent basis, like Dr. Rick said, don't give me no sound bites. I want to hear you in an interview, in a little 2-minute interview that's actually probably going to be chopped up by these people anyway. But I don't want to hear no sound bites of talking about some of the solutions and the problems, but then you don't put in no work. Or if you ain't got time to start a foundation, you ain't putting no money into no grassroots organization that is trying to address the situation. Let me continue on with this clip. It's about 45 minutes more. Now, they just got through asking her, put her on the spot. If one of your sons wanted to go out there and quote unquote riot, this is her response.
My son said, we just want to march peacefully. We want to make a point. I understand that. For my sons to say, we want to bust a window out, that doesn't make any sense. So our sons wouldn't be out there busting out windows to say, I'm just that mad. And I want to applaud the mama that got to her son and said, you won't do that. And what that woman was saying is, I'm fighting for your life. I don't care about these cameras. I don't care about all the people. I'm fighting for your life. So we're at a crucial moment right now. And hopefully we'll stop talking about the solutions and we'll bring the solutions so that we can get a change.
Monique, show me your work in the community. Not all over the country, not in Africa. No disrespect to our friends in Africa that tune in. And yes, the new abolitionist movement is down with you. And if we had the funds, Max would have wit there. But Monique, you just got through saying it's time to stop talking and start putting in work. Show me Monique's works. Just for Baltimore, show me her works. Show me a donation to the homeless foundation that put her aunt in a house, her Aunt Tina in a residence to where she ain't got to sleep in a car no more. Show me where Miss Christina Flowers, again, what's the name of her organization? They having a fundraiser next Monday. Founder at the new mayor of Baltimore City homeless community. Show me a check to them, Monique. Y'all see what I'm saying? You understand why? I'm not putting this out there to make her look bad. It is what it is. But I'm not on here also to cover stuff up for people and be their PR person. If you want to withdraw social capital from the black community, show me where you have put social capital in the black community. And Colin Kaepernick then changed the game. He has changed the standard by which we judge celebrities, or which we should judge celebrities. This man put his career, he may never ever work in football, professional football in the NFL again. But he knew that. He knew that when he took his stand. And he's fulfilling his $1 million pledge to put money in the grassroots organizations addressing modern day slavery and human trafficking that we call police violence and misconduct. Show me that. This isn't, and she's not by herself, so we're not picking on Monique, but she is the one that's in the media right now calling on black folks to support her, even though I don't see evidence that she was discriminated against. But okay, you want us to spend social capital on you, but you haven't spent any social capital on your own hometown. Okay? And then you want to say, change, it's never quiet or whatnot. But then when he asks you about your sons, well, yeah, we got to non-violently do it. We got to do it in an orderly fashion. We can't tear down, we can't tear up the system. And during the Ferguson uprising, people were saying, we love burning down our own communities. They wasn't burning down their own communities. They ain't own none of them businesses. They owned a hair store, which was protected. And then we don't even know who burnt them down. Them could have been agent provocateurs. But let's just assume, hey, we know these people in this business just been taking our dollars and they've been treating us bad. They ain't investing in no school programs or nothing like that. They part of the problem. They giving money to the Slave Catcher Benevolent Association. Yeah, let's bust out a window. Oh, we want to speak out against that. We want to judge the voices of the oppressed or the expressions of the oppressed. By any means necessary is what Malcolm X said. And why they didn't abolish slavery, it took a civil war, plenty of blood and guts and killing to get a temporary reprieve for victims of slavery. So you won't hear me condemning no violence against a very violent system that Dr. King said back in his day was the greatest purveyor of violence on the face of the planet. We got another call. Kia, did you want to chime back in?
All right, thank you so much for taking my call again. I just wanted to say quickly, if we, because I was thinking about what you said, if we put down our people for doing stuff like that, and I'm not condoning it or whatever, but we need to stop telling children about how wonderful the Boston Tea Party was. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah. American Revolution was very violent. People died. Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. I know why Monique said what she said. 'Cause she did not want to be blackballed. So I can't come on here and condone a violent uprising. I got to give the standard answer of nonviolence. Just march and all of that. You ain't got to condone it, but you could have came up with a better answer and said, you know what? I'm not in that situation them young people in. And a man just lost his life. And there's systemic police brutality in this country. I mean, you just had 6 cops get indicted in Baltimore for straight up robbing people. So I'm not, do you talk like Dr. King? That's a good question. But let's flip it. What do you think about when the United States violently overthrows these other countries, or they ship a whole bunch of arms to some Syrian rebels and all of that good stuff? That's where Mr. Fuller's teaching about codification comes in handy. You ask questions. Answer that question with a question. But for that kind of hurt me when she applauded Miss Toya Graham. And I'm not going to condemn Toya Graham for buck breaking her black son. But she didn't just pull her son to the side and say, these slave catchers will kill you out here. You can't be out here throwing rocks. I know you want to be a little young warrior. I know you want to be a little Nat Turner. But I'm afraid for you, son, so you got to come with me. That ain't what she did. She went out there and she beat that boy in the streets. She slapped him. She punched him. And like my mama said, this is where whipping our kids comes from. Because we didn't want Master to buck break our little young African warriors. So we going to buck break them for Master, because at least we ain't going to beat them as hard as Master. We ain't going to beat him to an inch of his life like Master. But we going to let them know, you do what Master say. There's rules on this plantation, and you got to follow the rules. And if you don't follow the rules, I'm going to take this switch to you. That's where they come from, people. That's where they come from. And she became an instant star in the white press. Let's applaud this black mother for buck breaking her son, who wanted to be the next Nat Turner, who wanted to follow in the footsteps of his ancestors, who violently rebelled against this system. So I'm not condemning Miss Toya Graham, but what she did does not deserve to be applauded, Monique. It doesn't. It did not. That's the psychological abuse of a black child. And I understand women are, I don't want to say this, this keep popping in my head because I don't know how true it is. And I just don't want to be repeating. So y'all excuse me if you don't, but I heard, let me put it that way. I heard that women are a little bit more emotional than men, especially when it comes to warfare and violence and stuff. And of course, that's not all women, because we've had women warriors who, look at Harriet Tubman. She led a force of 500 to go liberate some victims of slavery from a plantation. Okay, so no, but there's some exceptions to the rule. But I just wonder, is there some truth to women not being capable of raising black men? Because they so afraid for them. And I'm going to be real with you. When I was a child, I think I was like 10 years old, there was a bully on the block. I'll never forget his name. His name is Tony. I met Tony again when I became a teenager, and I was much bigger than Tony. But when we was 10, Tony, who was a little older than me, used to bully me. And I used to go running home to my mama. And my stepdad, my younger brother and sister's father, one day he told my mama to lock the door and not let me in the house. And they stood there looking at me, then ran from Tony and ran up on the porch. And it's talking about let me in, and they said no. They wouldn't let me in. They didn't tell me to do nothing. They stood there and watched to see what I was going to do. This is what the man in the house told my mama to do, because my mama would have let me in. He said no. Lock the door. Tony saw I couldn't get in the house. Tony got a little smile on his face, and he gonna come up on my porch and beat me up. Now, I was scared of Tony. I had never been in a fight before. So I saw a brick on the porch, and I bust Tony upside the head with a brick. And Tony had blood coming out the top of his head, and Tony went running, screaming home. And Tony's parents came to my parents and said, look what your son did to my son. And my parents told them, and y'all watched that boy bully Scotty. It wasn't every day, but y'all watched him bully Scotty, and you ain't do nothing to stop it. So don't be coming over here talking about, look what Scotty done did to Tony. See, sometimes women, I don't want to stereotype women, but some women don't have the emotional makeup. They can't detach themselves emotionally to raise a warrior. I ain't had to worry about Tony no more or anybody else bothering me, because I would fight you. I bust you upside the head with whatever I get my hands on, whatever it took. If not for that man, his name is Arthur. He lives in Detroit. We were living in Detroit at the time. Still in touch. That's my younger brother and sister father. And he was a father figure to me. If not for him, who knows how I might have growed up. I might have grown up to be a pink pussy hat wearing punk, getting beat up all the time. Some old effeminate boy who don't know how to stand up for himself. Okay? So I understand mothers want to protect their sons, but you can't be buck breaking your sons. You do want to teach them in a codified manner how to counter the system of racism, but sometimes, though, it's time to fight. It's time to send a message that we will not be bullied anymore. So when I found that clip, I was like, I'm very disappointed in what I'm hearing. This is a condemnation of an oppressed people that you know is being oppressed because you don't want to upset massa. But you don't mind upsetting massa when they come to putting some butter biscuits on your plate. Then you radical and you ready to speak out. If Monique is listening, you can do better, Monique. These other celebrities, y'all can do better. Again, I'm calling on all these celebrities. Pull y'all money out of Wells Fargo, out of Bank of America, out of JP Morgan, out of SunTrust, out of BNP Paribas, and there's one more that's escaping my mind right now, but we're going to put some promos together. I already been putting out some memes on them. But this is what Miss Toya said, though. After all that celebrating of her butt breaking her son, in an article that appeared in the Baltimore Sun, I'm just reading an excerpt. She said that the Under Armour, I guess that was one of the corporations that saw her featured on white media platforms for butt breaking, was the only organization that kept this promise with a job offer and sent her children gear for school and offered her a job on the assembly line. But she said she had received her certified medication technician license and said she refused the job because she was looking for something in her field, what she was trained to do, and not just, work on the assembly line. But at least they did follow up and kept its promise. Okay? Now, it says that a spokesperson said St. Joseph reached out to see if we could help, but it did not offer Graham a job. Something about BET did not immediately respond to calls and emails for comment, like BET was supposed to give her a job or something. Of the Steve Harvey help, Steve Harvey was supposed to, bring this boy to his camp where I remember Steve Harvey talking about he was going to, remember racist Paula Dean got in trouble in the media for having weddings and banquets where hiring black people to play slaves on the plantation and all. Remember she got in trouble for that? Who came to her rescue? Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey I remember calling him out on it. He was going to bring her into the camp to teach the kids how to cook. Had her on his white platform provided TV show. Said the faces of Baltimore unrest, that's a different article. A Sun reporter emailed the Steve Harvey show, but they did not immediately received confirmation about the camp. Days later, Graham received an email with information about applying to the camp. But by that time, Michael had started a Woodline Jobs Corp Center, a live-in program in L'Oreal. Van Jones was supposed to get this boy a scholarship. She said Jones reneged on the scholarship. Summer Huntley, Jones' chief of staff, said that Jones had agreed to help Michael apply for scholarships, but they blamed Toya and said she never followed up. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Oh, they praise you when you hold the company line, when you buck break your son and tell him the only rebellion that is approved by the system is nonviolent marching. They praise you. They pat you on the head and they make promises. And then these black celebrities did not keep their promises. So before you spend your social capital on a black celebrity, you better make sure that they've been investing social capital in our communities. Aligning yourself with somebody based on skin color is asinine. The enemy uses that. He uses that against us. When we think just cause somebody look like us, they for us. Or they gonna help us. Why do you think COINTELPRO was so successful in destroying the Black Panther Party? Infiltrators working for the FBI, slave catchers, black slave catcher cops helped assassinate Fred Hampton Jr. It's time to wake up and recognize the realities of the battlefield. Everybody out here ain't on your side of the battle line. And they will use you, they will manipulate you for the system. We got to do better. We got to demand better. Again, Colin Kaepernick, and it's not like he's the first to do it, but he's been the first to do it in this modern period. Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. It might be some out there I don't know about. I know Wesley Snipes was investing in a black project, and next thing you know, he in jail for tax evasion. He's not getting any movie offers anymore. You better make sure that who you going to war for has gone to war for you. That's all I'm saying. We got to not be emotional about these things. We got to be analytical about these things. And we can't water down the power of the black boycott. We can't water it down. We just can't be calling boycotts left and right. And then we're going to call a boycott. How is that? What is that? The result of that boycott, let's say we're successful in getting that demand met. Is that demand going to help the people that need the help the most? Pulling your money out of these 6 banks will. All right, so I'm not going to keep harping. I think I've made my point. That we all, including myself, need to do better. We need to expect more. We just got to do better. It's as simple as that. So, listen, I'll be back on air tomorrow night on New Abolitionist Radio along with Max Partis. Hopefully, Sister Layla IZ will be able to join us, but she's been very busy. She's one of those people putting in work, boots on the ground work out there in California. So and then she has children too. So sometimes she's not able to make it, and we understand that. But tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern for New Abolitionist Radio. And be on the lookout for some of these promos that I'm going to have made about these 6 banks. And we need to call on these celebrities to pull their money out these banks so that we can do some serious damage to the system of racism, white supremacy that's still practicing slavery. Thank you to Kia for calling in and supporting, being a longtime supporter of the network. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I'm sorry our guest wasn't able to join us. I just pray that she's safe behind these enemy lines because I haven't been able to reach her all day. Okay? And support her work for the homeless people in Baltimore. Because Baltimore is hurting. It's hurting real bad. And a lot of our communities are hurting. And that's why I don't like to complain about my personal situation too much, because I'm not hurting in that kind of way. But I definitely care about those who are. That said, peace and blessings to all. Be safe out there.